I love what I do. I choose what I do, and I don't have to do it. I get to do it, which makes them understand that when I'm working, it's actually a positive thing. Hello friends, welcome back to the Brand Is You podcast with me, Robyn Savage. So if you've been following along for a while, you know a little bit about my story. I've got two kids, two little girls, Wave and Win. And it's really important to me that they understand why I work, how I work, and beyond that, because they see me working, because I have a nanny who picks them up from school and is very dear and present in our lives. We love her so much. It's really important to me that my kids understand why we have a nanny, why mommy likes to work, why mommy does work. And I want that to be a rich remembering for them. I want them to remember that I loved what I do and that I feel like my work is a privilege and an honor and that I'm choosing it at the end of the day. So today I'm going to tell you the number one thing that I tell my kids about being an entrepreneur. And this may sound super simple to you, but it's actually a lot harder to integrate and to remember and to continue doing over and over and over again, especially when life just takes over and you're busy and you're in it. You know, you're in the trenches, you're in the busyness, you're in the to-do list and the overwhelm and all of the things. But the number one thing that I like to tell my kids about being an entrepreneur is that I freaking love my job, okay? Now, right, it sounds simple. Like, sure, just make sure that that's the message. Make sure that they know, but truthfully, at all of these different moments in my children's development and their learning and their experiences of me, what they tend to see is a busy mom, a distracted mom, a mom who has other things to do that aren't them. And for them at this stage in their lives, they're 5 and 7, and they're starting to understand now what work means and what work does for our families, creating, safety and security and opportunity for us. But what they really ultimately see is a happy or sad mom, an agitated or calm mom, a creative or restricted, stagnant, depressed mom, okay? And so for me, when they ask me about my work, when they see me work, when we are in any sort of interaction or engagement together about my work, it is always that I love my work. It is always that, I get to work with people who have ideas. I get to work with people who are dreaming about something bigger. I get to work with people who are creating something. I get to work with people who have something to say. I get to. And when I started to change this language with my kids around, I get to do this work. I know that it's hard to see mommy working. I know it sucks that we have to go to school and we have to spend time away from each other. And I know it sucks that I have to finish this email before I come play with the Lego, but I get to do this and I'm so excited. Okay, so changing this language really helped my kids understand that yes, for them, it's a little bit annoying that their mom is being pulled away by work, but also what they've really learned to understand about me is that I love what I do. I choose what I do, and I don't have to do it, I get to do it, which makes them understand that when I'm working, it's actually a positive thing. It's actually a beautiful thing. So shifting my language around this was a really big sort of game changer for our household because they started to honor it in return, right? When I started to honor my work in front of them, they started to also say, oh man, I love that you love that, okay? I like that you're doing something that you love. My kids know that I'm creative. They know that I help people. They know that I'm of service. They know that I give back. They know that I'm in relationship with my clients and giving people feedback and doing all of these things every day. And they actually love that. So sometimes I think, when we fall into our own traps of entrepreneurial overwhelm and stress and fatigue, like who hasn't fallen into an entrepreneurial period in time where you're like, God, this is so hard, right? And I'm so tired and I just want to quit and I just want to throw in the towel. And that happens to all of us. But what's the overall conversation, right? What's the high level feeling and vibe about your work? What is the energy that you're giving off about what you do? Now, this is a direct conversation that I have with my kids. Like, guys, I know that this is tricky. I know that you want to hang out with me and I want to hang out with you all the time. You're my favorite people in the world. But also, I love the people that I get to work with. So I'll actually take it one step further and share about my clients with my kids. I'll share about the things we're working on. I'll share about the exciting projects. I'll share my celebrations and my wins. Say, guess what? I just booked a new client today and I'm so excited because X, Y, and Z. I'll say, guess what? One of my clients just published a book. Can you believe it? Like the books we take out from the library. One of the people that I work with just put a book out in the world that could end up in a library. Okay, so I like to share and communicate what's going on in my work so that my kids also feel like they know, right? And I feel like a lot of us tend to really compartmentalize motherhood and work, right? We like shut off and keep it separate, which can be healthy. It's good to have boundaries, but also my kids really love feeling like they are involved in a way, right? They like knowing what mom's doing during the day. They like seeing me create. They like seeing me in my own joy and in my own process. Now, lastly, I'll invite my kids in to my spaces whenever I can. So if I'm working on an email sequence or if I'm writing copy for a client, they'll come and just lay under my desk and they'll have their journal and their markers and they will do their own thing. But I try not to separate them from my work when I don't have to. And I always have music on and I always have a candle lit and I always have, my pictures out and it's a vibe and it's beautiful and I'll get the window open and I'll light sage and cleanse the room whenever I want to. Like it turns it into a really beautiful co-creative experience where they also get to be present with me and they get to experience me in a working environment. And one thing that I love about that, and one thing that I love about this whole conversation is, when I was growing up, my dad's office was like a no-go zone. You didn't even go in that office. Okay, if you had to talk to my dad, you knocked on the door like you were in a freaking corporate office building, and he would say, yup, or not now, And this reframe for my kids and how they get to see me work and how they get to hear me talk about my work, it's such an invitation for them to create a new experience, to create a new condition and narrative in their own mind about what work gets to look like. It doesn't need to be behind closed doors and walls all the time. It doesn't need to be something that kids don't get to witness. It doesn't need to be so serious all the time. They see me being me in my work. They see me doing the things that make me happy. They see me embracing my talent and sharing that with the world. And I just think that that's such a gift, right? So if you are going to have a conversation with your kids about your work, if you're an entrepreneur, I just want you to kind of check in with yourself. Like, how am I communicating with my family, with my friends even? But for this podcast episode's sake, how am I communicating with my kids about my work? Do they know that I love this? Am I being open and communicative about what I do? Am I giving them insights so that they feel connected to it? And I can guarantee that when your kids see the light in your eyes, when they feel that fire and that passion of you showing up with excitement in your work, they will start to feel excited for you. Give it a try. Let me know what you think. I'm super happy to be having conversations like this. I think that it's really important to understand that how we show up in motherhood impacts how we show up in our work, and how we show up in our work can impact how we show up in motherhood and all sorts of relationships. And I really want to encourage you to to bring more love into the entire process for yourself and for your children, your clients, everything. Okay. So if you loved this podcast, as always, thank you. Thank you for being here. Follow along on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to your podcast. If you haven't yet subscribed to the YouTube channel, go subscribe, get the weekly content, and I will see you right back here next week on the Brand Is You podcast. I love you.